Hey there, it's Dave Kirby. We are making our way through the last week of 2016. We are counting down our top 10 episodes of the year on the One Simple Thing podcast, and we're down to number 3, just a couple of more to go. This episode originally aired almost a year ago in January of 2016. It's from Sir John Hargrave, and we're talking about having Jedi Focus in your life. It was a great episode, Sir John. Really funny guy, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. It's the third most downloaded episode of the year here on the One Simple Thing podcast. We've talked a lot on this show about focus, and in a world of distractions, it's a big deal. But focus goes much deeper than just being able to tune out distractions. It means we're even able to tune out the noise in our own mind. When we become more intentionally mindful, we find more peace of mind, we find more contentment, and more happiness. So how do we get there? Well, my guest today is Sir John Hargrave, and he's going to show us how to get Jedi-like focus on the One Simple Thing podcast.
It's time to build a better business by building a better you. This is One Simple Thing.
Welcome to the show, you guys. Got an excellent program ahead of us here. I'm Dave Kirby, and thank you for listening to the One Simple Thing podcast. My guest today is Sir John Hargrave, and it's going to be an entertaining and I think a pretty informative conversation. Sir John is a published author of young adult books and editor-in-chief of Zug, which is the world's oldest humor website. He's appeared on Comedy Central, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, MSNBC, Tech TV, and the BBC. He's the CEO of his own content marketing company called Media Shower, and his book is called Mind Hacking: How to Change Your Mind for Good in 21 Days. It's available through the banner ad at OneSimpleThingOnline.com. Sir John, thank you for being here today on the One Simple Thing podcast.
Dave, thanks for having me.
I wasn't sure whether to call you Sir John or just John. I'm grateful that you've allowed me into your inner circle and refer to you just as John.
We're on a first-name basis.
Now, I've seen you referred to as Sir John Hargrave, but you have not been officially knighted by any sort of royalty, have you?
Well, the story is that I wrote the Queen of England a few years back, and I said, Your Majesty, I would like to be knighted, because I just thought Sir John Hargrave sounded so much classier.
It does.
Right? So she wrote me back. She said, well, you have to do something honorable. And I was like, well, that's a lot of work. So I went down to my local county courthouse and I applied to have my name legally changed. You just go down, pay a small fee, go before the judge. And now here I am today, Sir John Hargrave.
There's more than one way to get the job done, right?
Yeah, kind of a name hack, if you will.
Well, and we're going to talk about your book here in just a second, because I think it's fascinating, called Mind Hacking: How to Change Your Mind for Good in 21 Days. But you weren't always involved in mind hacking per se. You've got quite a background. How was it you came to this point of being able to write about things like mind hacking and personal change?
Well, I'm a humor writer by profession, and I have a story in the beginning of my book, Mind Hacking, where my life hit bottom when I had the Secret Service show up on my doorstep. And I won't give away the whole story, but suffice it to say, when the Secret Service shows up at your house, something's probably gone wrong. Like, you haven't made a lot of good decisions.
Exactly.
And I realized that a lot of my problems were due to my dependency on alcohol and drugs, and I made a decision to throw everything away that day. And that was so difficult, Dave, that decision to get sober, that what I had to learn were ways of managing my mind, which we call hacks or techniques of managing your mind. And so the things that I learned, I put into this book in a very funny way, but also really useful way, kind of a self-help book for people who don't like self-help books, called Mind Hacking.
And I noticed in the book there's a lot of imagery having to do with kind of computers and computer hacking, et cetera. Is that an interest of yours?
I'm a real geek. I love technology, and the idea of the mind as a computer that can be reprogrammed is something I think we can all relate to, because we all have computers now on our phones and our tablets, our laptops. So we understand that there's kind of this world in there that can be reprogrammed. We can influence it, even though it's not like our physical world. And our minds are the same way.
So there's a chapter in your book that caught my eye, especially, I guess, at the time we're recording this, Star Wars has just come out. And it's called Developing Jedi-like Concentration, which I love the imagery there. Can you kind of walk us through how it is that we could develop that kind of concentration and focus?
Yeah, and this was a big part of my personal journey was I tried to learn meditation, and I found meditation was very difficult, like most people. And yet all of the scientific benefits we know from multiple research studies. It makes you healthier. It makes your relationships better. It obviously makes you calmer and more focused. So I developed this technique. I call it Jedi concentration training, where you basically spend 15 or 20 minutes in the morning. And what you do is you try to keep your concentration focused on your breath. So when you notice your mind wandering, when you notice yourself kind of lost in thought, when you forget to focus on your breath, you award yourself a point. We call it awareness points. And what it does is in meditation, usually you feel bad that you've kind of lost your focus and you kind of berate yourself. But when you sort of flip it on its head and you make a game out of it, then you reward yourself and you kind of get a dopamine hit whenever you realize, oh, my mind's wandering. And you return your attention back to the breath. So it's that simple. You stay focused on the breath. When you get distracted, you give yourself a point and you focus it back on the breath again. And this is super effective at helping you develop a regular mindfulness or meditation or concentration practice, especially if you write down your score each day and try to beat your high score.
I read Dan Harris's book, 10% Happier.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing. He found himself kind of in a similar circumstance to you. And meditation was a big part of him kind of rehabbing his life. And, I guess what I noticed in his book is this just battle we have with mindfulness. If we're not careful, we sit down and try to meditate or become present. And we end up with this kind of self-hatred. I am so stupid. Why can I not do this? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think what you're suggesting is we turn that on its head, and instead of berating ourselves for losing our concentration, reward ourselves when we reclaim it.
That's it. It's all about turning those negative thought loops and negative thought patterns into positive ones. And that's a very practical, easy way of doing it on an everyday basis. And that's been the foundation for me of living a healthy and sober and sane lifestyle.
You talk about two types of attention in the book. Can you kind of walk us through those?
Yeah. So there's top-down attention, which is kind of where you're placing your attention at any moment. And I think of this as like the proton pack from Ghostbusters, remember, where they shoot the Marshmallow Man?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like the stream of directed attention. But then you also have a bottom-up attention, and that's like when shiny objects catch your eye, things that just sort of jump into your consciousness. And what we're trying to do with this concentration training is to strengthen that top-down attention, so make ourselves more able to stay focused on the things we want to, like our tasks at work or listening to our partners when they're talking to us. But we're also trying to get better at resisting those bottom-up interruptions, those text messages and alerts and the kind of random thoughts that jump out at us constantly. And again, this concentration practice is the single most useful technique I know of doing both of those things, of developing the ability to hold that top-down attention, but to resist those bottom-up distractions.
We're going to talk more about eliminating distractions in the next episode. But let's talk for a minute about, and I know you've already kind of touched on this, when I asked you in advance, what's our one simple thing for today, you responded with Jedi concentration exercises, which kind of calls to mind something having to do with a lightsaber and some little ball floating in the air kind of thing, right?
That would be awesome.
Skywalker, wouldn't it be?
Yeah. And the helmet? Yeah.
So what are Jedi concentration exercises, and how can we get to put those into practice?
Sure. Well, it's what we've talked about earlier, which is basically setting aside 15, 20 minutes in the morning, really focusing your attention on a single thing. I like to use the breath. It's the easiest. Focus on the breath right at the nostrils. And then as you notice your mind wandering, as you notice yourself lost in thought, which happens to everybody, then you give yourself a point and you return your attention to the breath. We also have a series of guided concentration exercises on our website, which is mindhacky.ng. That's mindhacking with a .ng. And you can actually do daily exercises that I walk you through on YouTube that let you listen in and kind of do this yourself in a more structured, guided way until you get the hang of it.
We will put a link to those exercises on the show notes for today. So if you're driving, don't worry about going there right now. John, thank you. This is, I think, a great start in walking us down this line towards really kind of change. When you say changing your mind in 21 days, you're not just talking about kind of the temporary, like I was going to go to lunch, but now I changed my mind. You're literally talking about changing the way you think in 21 days, right?
That's right. Yeah. And the full title is Change Your Mind for Good. So we mean change your mind permanently for good, but also change your mind for the positive. And that's what we're really here to help people do, is change the way they think to make themselves more productive, more positive, and happier.
Well, we'll get into the next step, which is eliminating distractions on the next episode. John, or Sir John, thank you very much for joining me.
Duke Dave, thank you.
I'm having a blast talking to Sir John Hargrave. He's our guest today and over the next few episodes here on the One Simple Thing podcast. Again, if you missed his web address where you can pick up that series of guided meditations, we have the link for it on today's show notes. Also, if you want to get his book, again, it's called Mind Hacking, How to Change Your Mind for Good in 21 Days. Make sure you click on the banner ad when you go to onesimplethingonline.com. Again, today's episode is 371, and you'll find our show notes under that episode number, again, at onesimplethingonline.com. Hey, thanks for those of you who are leaving ratings and reviews. Sure appreciate it. You're helping us get more attention on iTunes. If you'd like to leave us a rating and review, easy to do. Just go to the website. In the top menu, you'll see Support the Show. Click on that, and it's got all the links necessary for you to make it as easy as possible. Again, that's at onesimplethingonline.com, and then click on Support the Show. Also, as always, you want to shoot me an email, I always check my own and respond to my own emails. The address is dave@onesimplethingonline.com. That's with the number 1, dave@onesimplethingonline.com. Thank you again for listening. Love you guys. I'll be back again next time with more from Sir John Hargrave here on the One Simple Thing podcast.